Rafael Nadal.
Rafael Nadal Parera is a Spanish professional tennis player and the current world number 1. He is considered by some to be the greatest tennis player of all time. His success on clay has earned him the nickname King of Clay and has led many sports journalists and commentators, as well as former and current players, to regard him as the greatest clay court player in history. Nadal has won 13 Grand Slam singles titles, the 2008 Olympic gold medal in singles, a record 26 ATP World Tour Masters 1000 and a record 15 ATP World Tour 500 tournaments. He was also a member of the winning Spain Davis Cup team in 2004, 2008, 2009, and 2011. In 2010, he became the 7th player in history and youngest of 4 in the Open era to achieve the career Grand Slam. He is the second male player, after Andre Agassi, to complete the singles career Golden Slam. Nadal and Mats Wilander are the only 2 players in history who have won at least 2 Grand Slam titles on 3 different surfaces, hardcourt, grass, and clay. By winning the 2013 French Open, Nadal became the only male player to win a single Grand Slam tournament 8 times and the first to win at least 1 Grand Slam tournament for 9 consecutive years, breaking the record of 8 consecutive years previously shared by Bjorn Borg, Pete Sampras, and Roger Federer. Nadal holds the record for most consecutive titles at a particular tournament as a result of winning his 8th straight Monte Carlo Masters in 2012. He is the first Spanish player, male or female, to rank number 1 for more than 100 weeks. He is the only Spanish player, male or female, to have won the career Golden Slam, the first Spanish male player to win the Australian Open and the second Spanish male player to have won Wimbledon and the US Open.
Early life.
Rafael Nadal was born in Manacor, Balearic Islands, Spain, to Sebastian Nadal, a businessman who owns an insurance company, a glass and window company, Vidas Mallorca, and manages his own restaurant, Sal Punta. His mother is Ana Maria Parera, a housewife. He has a younger sister named Maria Isabel. His uncle, Miguel Angel Nadal, is a retired professional footballer who played for RCD Mallorca, FC Barcelona, and the Spanish national team. Nadal supports football clubs Real Madrid and RCD Mallorca. Recognizing that Nadal had a natural talent for tennis, another uncle, Tony Nadal, a former professional tennis player, introduced him to tennis when he was 3 years old. At age 8, Nadal won an under-12 regional tennis championship at a time when he was also a promising football player. This made Tony Nadal intensify training, and at that time he encouraged Nadal to play left-handed for a natural advantage on the tennis court, as he noticed Nadal played forehand shots with 2 hands. This may be due to the fact he is ambidextrous, playing tennis with his left hand, and writing with his right. When Nadal was 12, he won the Spanish and European tennis titles in his age group and was playing tennis and football all the time. Nadal's father made him choose between football and tennis so that his schoolwork would not deteriorate entirely. Nadal said, "I chose tennis. Football had to stop straight away." When he was 14, the Spanish Tennis Federation requested that he leave Mallorca and move to Barcelona to continue his tennis training. Nadal's family turned down this request, partly because they feared it would hurt his education, but also because Tony said that "I don't want to believe that you have to go to America or other places to be a good athlete. You can do it from your home." The decision to stay home meant that Nadal received less financial support from the federation. Instead, Nadal's father covered the costs. In May 2001, he defeated former Grand Slam tournament champion Prakash in a clay court exhibition match. Nadal turned professional at the age of 15, and participated in 2 events on the ITF Junior circuit. In 2002, at the age of 16, Nadal reached the semifinals of the boys' singles tournament at Wimbledon, in his first ITF Junior event. By the age of 17, he beat Roger Federer the first time they played and became the youngest man to reach the 3rd round at Wimbledon since Boris Becker. At 18, he helped pace Spain over the US in the Junior Davis Cup in his second, and final, appearance on the ITF Junior circuit. At 19, Nadal won the French Open the first time he played it, a feat not accomplished in Paris for more than 20 years. He eventually won it the first 4 times he played at Roland Garros. In 2003, he had won the ATP Newcomer of the Year award. Early in his career, Nadal became known for his habit of putting the trophies he won.
Tennis career 2002 to 2004.
In April 2002, at 15 years and 10 months, the world number 762 Nadal won his first ATP match, defeating Ramon Delgado, and became the 9th player in the Open era to do so before the age of 16. The following year, Nadal won 2 challenger titles and finished the year in the top 50. At his Wimbledon debut in 2003, Nadal became the youngest man to reach the 3rd round since Boris Becker in 1984. Nadal reached the 3rd round of the 2004 Australian Open where he lost in 3 sets against Australian Leighton Hewitt. Interestingly, had he won, he would have faced Roger Federer in the next round. Later that year, Nadal played his first match against world number 1 Roger Federer at the 2004 Miami Masters, and won in straight sets, before losing to Fernando Gonzalez in the quarterfinals. He was one of the 6 players who defeated Federer that year, along with Tim Henman, Albert Costa, Gustavo Kuerten, Dominic Hrbaty, and Thomas Berdych. He missed most of the clay court season, including the French Open, because of a stress fracture in his left ankle. Nadal, at 18 years and 6 months, became the youngest player to register a singles victory in a Davis Cup final for a winning nation. By beating world number 2 Andy Roddick, he helped Spain clinch the 2004 title over the United States in a 3-2 win. He finished the year ranked world number 51.
2005, first Grand Slam title.
At the 2005 Australian Open, Nadal lost in the 4th round to eventual runner-up Leighton Hewitt. 2 months later, Nadal reached the final of the 2005 Miami Masters, and despite being 2 points from a straight sets victory, he was defeated in 5 sets by world number 1 Roger Federer. Both performances were considered to be breakthroughs for Nadal. He then dominated the spring clay court season. He won 24 consecutive singles matches, which broke Andre Agassi's Open-era record of consecutive match wins for a male teenager. Nadal won the Torneo Contigodo in Barcelona and beat 2004 French Open runner-up Guillermo Coria in the finals of the 2005 Monte Carlo Masters and the 2005 Rome Masters. These victories raised his ranking to world number 5 and made him one of the favorites at his career first French Open. On his 19th birthday, Nadal defeated Federer in the 2005 French Open semifinals, being one of only 4 players who defeated the top-seeded player that year, along with Marat Safin, Richard Gasquet, and David Nalbandian. 2 days later, he defeated Mariano Puerta in the final, becoming the 2nd male player after Mats Wilander to win the French Open on this first attempt. He also became the first teenager to win a Grand Slam singles title since Pete Sampras won the 1990 US Open at age 19. Winning the French Open improved Nadal's ranking to world number 3. 3 days after his victory in Paris, Nadal's 24-match winning streak was snapped in the first round of the grass court Jerry Weber Open in Halle, Germany, where he lost to the German Alexander Wask. He then lost in the 2nd round of 2005 Wimbledon to Gilles Muller of Luxembourg. Immediately after Wimbledon, Nadal won 16 consecutive matches and 3 consecutive tournaments, bringing his ranking to world number 2 on July 25, 2005. Nadal started his North American summer hardcourt season by defeating Agassi in the final of the 2005 Canada Masters, but lost in the first round of the 2005 Cincinnati Masters. Nadal was seeded 2nd at the 2005 US Open, where he was upset in the 3rd round by world number 49 James Blake in 4 sets. In September, he defeated Coria in the final of the China Open in Beijing and won both of his Davis Cup matches against Italy. In October, he won his 4th ATP Masters Series title of the year, defeating Ivan Ljubičić in the final of the 2005 Madrid Masters. He then suffered a foot injury that prevented him from competing in the year-ending Tennis Masters Cup. Both Nadal and Federer won 11 singles titles and 4 ATP Masters Series titles in 2005. Nadal broke Mats Wilander's previous teenage record of 9 in 1983. 8 of Nadal's titles were on clay, and the remainder were on hard courts. Nadal won 79 matches, second only to Federer's 81. Nadal won the Golden Beagle Award for 2005, with 11 6-0 sets during the year. Also, he earned the highest year-end ranking ever by a Spaniard and the ATP Most Improved Player of the Year award.
2006.
Nadal missed the Australian Open because of a foot injury. In February, he lost in the semi-finals of the first tournament he played, the Open 13 tournament in Marseille, France. 2 weeks later, he handed Roger Federer his first loss of the year in the final of the Dubai Duty-Free Men's Open. In 2006, Rafael Nadal and Andy Murray were the only two men who defeated Federer. To complete the spring hardcourt season, Nadal was upset in the semifinals of the Pacific Life Open in Indian Wells, California, by James Blake, and was upset in the second round of the 2006 Miami Masters. On European clay, Nadal won all 4 tournaments he entered and 24 consecutive matches. He defeated Federer in the final of the Masters Series Monte Carlo in 4 sets. The following week, he defeated Tommy Robredo in the final of the Open Sabato Atlantico tournament in Barcelona. After a 1-week break, Nadal won the Masters Series Internazionale BNL d'Italia in Rome, defeating Federer in a 5th-set tiebreaker in the final, after saving 2 match points and equaling Bjorn Borg's tally of 16 ATP titles won as a teenager. Nadal broke Argentinian Guillermo Vilas's 29-year male record of 53 consecutive clay court match victories by winning his first-round match at the French Open. Vilas presented Nadal with a trophy, but commented later that Nadal's feat was less impressive than his own because Nadal's winning streak covered 2 years and was accomplished by adding easy tournaments to his schedule. Nadal went on to play Federer in the final of the French Open. The first 2 sets of the match were hardly competitive, as the rivals traded 6-1 sets. Nadal won the 3rd set easily and served for the match in the 4th set before Federer broke him and forced a tiebreaker. Nadal won the tiebreaker and became the first player to defeat Federer in a Grand Slam tournament final. Nadal injured his shoulder while playing a quarter-final match against Leighton Hewitt at the Artois Championships, played on grass at the Queen's Club in London. Nadal was unable to complete the match, which ended his 26-match winning streak. Nadal was seeded second at Wimbledon, but was 2 points from defeat against American qualifier Robert Kendrick in the second round before coming back to win in 5 sets. In the third round, Nadal defeated world number 20 Andre Agassi in straight sets at Agassi's last career match at Wimbledon. Nadal also won his next 3 matches in straight sets, which set up his first Wimbledon final, which was against Federer, who had won this tournament the 3 previous years. Nadal was the first Spanish man since Manuel Santana in 1966 to reach the Wimbledon final, but Federer won the match in 4 sets to win his 4th consecutive Wimbledon title. During the lead-up to the US Open, Nadal played the 2 Masters Series tournaments in North America. He was upset in the 3rd round of the Rogers Cup in Toronto and the quarterfinals of the Western and Southern Financial Group Masters in Cincinnati. Nadal was seeded second at the US Open, but lost in the quarterfinals to world number 54 Mikhail Yasny of Russia in 4 sets. Nadal played only 3 tournaments the remainder of the year. Joachim Johansson, ranked world number 690, upset Nadal in the second round of the Stockholm Open. The following week, Nadal lost to Tomas Berdych in the quarterfinals of the year's last Masters Series tournament, the Mutua Madrilena Masters in Madrid. During the round-robin stage of the year-ending Tennis Masters Cup, Nadal lost to James Blake but defeated Nikolay Davydenko and Robredo. Because of those 2 victories, Nadal qualified for the semifinals, where he lost to Federer. This was Nadal's 3rd loss in 9 career matches with Federer. Nadal went on to become the first player since Andre Agassi in 1994-95 to finish the year as the world number 2 in consecutive years.
2007.
Nadal started the year by playing in 6 hardcourt tournaments. He lost in the semifinals and first round of his first 2 tournaments and then lost in the quarterfinals of the Australian Open to eventual runner-up Fernando Gonzalez. After another quarter-final loss at the Dubai Tennis Championships, he won the 2007 Indian Wells Masters, before Novak Djokovic defeated him in the quarterfinals of the 2007 Miami Masters. He had comparatively more success after returning to Europe to play 5 clay court tournaments. He won the titles at the Masters Series Monte Carlo, the Open Sabato Atlantico in Barcelona, and the Masters Series Internazionale BNL d'Italia in Rome, before losing to Roger Federer in the final of the Masters Series Hamburg. This defeat ended his 81-match winning streak on clay, which is the male Open era record for consecutive wins on a single surface. He then rebounded to win the French Open for the 3rd straight year, defeating Federer once again in the final. Between the tournaments in Barcelona and Rome, Nadal defeated Federer in the Battle of Surfaces exhibition match in Mallorca, Spain, with the tennis court being half grass and half clay. Nadal played the Artois Championships at the Queen's Club in London for the 2nd consecutive year. As in 2006, Nadal was upset in the quarterfinals. Nadal then won consecutive 5-set matches during the 3rd and 4th rounds of Wimbledon before being beaten by Federer in the 5-set final. This was Federer's first 5-set match at Wimbledon since 2001. In July, Nadal won the clay court Mercedes Cup in Stuttgart, which proved to be his last title of the year. He played 3 important tournaments during the North American summer hardcourt season. He was a semi-finalist at the Masters Series Rogers Cup in Montreal before losing his first match at the Western and Southern Financial Group Masters in Cincinnati. He was the 2nd-seeded player at the U.S. Open, but was defeated in the 4th round by David Ferrer. After a month-long break from tournament tennis, Nadal played the Mutua Madrilena Masters in Madrid and the BNP Paribas Masters in Paris. David Nalbandian upset him in the quarterfinals and final of those tournaments. To end the year, Nadal won 2 of his 3 round-robin matches to advance to the semifinals of the Tennis Masters Cup in Shanghai, where Federer defeated him in straight sets. During the second half of the year, Nadal battled a knee injury suffered during the Wimbledon final. In addition, there were rumors at the end of the year that the foot injury he suffered during 2005 caused long-term damage, which were given credence by coach Tony Nadal's claim that the problem was serious. Nadal and his spokesman strongly denied this, however, with Nadal himself calling the story totally false.
2008, ascent to number 1 and Olympic gold.
Nadal began the year in India, where he was comprehensively beaten by Mikhail Yasny in the final of the Chennai Open. Nadal then reached the semifinals of the Australian Open for the first time. Jo-Wilfried Tsonga defeated Nadal in the semifinal of 2008 Australian Open. Nadal also reached the final of the Miami Masters for the 2nd time. During the spring clay court season, Nadal won 4 singles titles and defeated Roger Federer in 3 finals. He beat Federer at the Masters Series Monte Carlo for the 3rd straight year, capturing his Open-era record 4th consecutive title there. He won in straight sets, despite Federer's holding a 4-0 lead in the 2nd set. Nadal then won his 4th consecutive title at the Open Sabato Atlantico tournament in Barcelona. A few weeks later, Nadal won his first title at the Masters Series Hamburg, defeating Federer in the 3-set final. He then won the French Open, becoming the 5th man in the Open era to win a Grand Slam singles title without losing a set. He defeated Federer in the final for the 3rd straight year, but this was the most lopsided of all their matches, as Nadal only lost 4 games and gave Federer his first bagel since 1999. This was Nadal's 4th consecutive French title, tying Bjorn Borg's all-time record. Nadal became the 4th male player during Open era to win the same Grand Slam singles tournament 4 consecutive years, the others being Borg, Pete Sampras, and Federer. Nadal then played Federer in the final of Wimbledon for the 3rd consecutive year, in the most anticipated match of their rivalry. Nadal entered the final on a 23-match winning streak, including his first career grass court title at the Artois Championship staged at the Queen's Club in London prior to Wimbledon. Federer had won his record 5th grass court title at the Jerry Weber Open in Halle, and then reached the Wimbledon final without losing a set. Unlike their previous 2 Wimbledon finals, though, Federer was not the prohibitive favorite, and many analysts picked Nadal to win. They played the longest, in terms of time on court, not in terms of numbers of games, final in Wimbledon history, and because of rain delays, Nadal won the 5th set 9-7 in near darkness. The match was widely lauded as the greatest Wimbledon final ever, with some tennis critics even calling it the greatest match in tennis history. By winning his first Wimbledon title, Nadal became the third man in the Open era to win both the French Open and Wimbledon in the same year, after Rod Laver in 1969, and Borg in 1978-80. Federer later accomplished this the following year, as well as the second Spaniard to win Wimbledon. He also ended Federer's record streak of 5 consecutive Wimbledon titles and 65 straight wins on grass courts. This was also the first time that Nadal won 2 Grand Slam tournaments back-to-back. After Wimbledon, Nadal extended his winning streak to a career-best 32 matches. He won a second Rogers Cup title in Toronto, and then made it into the semifinals of the Western and Southern Financial Group Masters in Cincinnati. As a result, Nadal clinched the U.S. Open Series and, combined with Federer's early round losses in both of those tournaments, finally earned the world #1 ranking on August 18, officially ending Federer's record 4.5-year reign at the top. At the 2008 Beijing Olympics, Nadal defeated Novak Djokovic in the semifinals and Fernando Gonzalez of Chile in the final to win his first Olympic gold medal. Nadal became the first male player ranked in the top 5 to win the gold medal. At the U.S. Open, Nadal was the top-seeded player for the first time at a Grand Slam tournament. He did not lose a set during his first 3 matches, defeating qualifiers in the first and second rounds and Victor Troicki in the third round. He then needed 4 sets to defeat both Sam Querrey in the fourth round and Marty Fish in the quarterfinals. In the semifinals, he lost to eventual runner-up, Andy Murray. Later in the year in Madrid, Nadal helped Spain defeat the United States in the Davis Cup semifinals. At the Mutua Madrilena Masters in Madrid, Nadal lost in the semifinals to Gilles Simon. However, his performance at the event guaranteed that he would become the first Spaniard during the Open era to finish the year as the world #1. On October 24 at the Camp Homer Theatre in Oviedo, Spain, Nadal was given the Prince of Asturias Award for Sports, in recognition of his achievements in tennis. 2 weeks after the Madrid Masters at the BNP Paribas Masters in France, Nadal reached the quarterfinals, where he faced Nikolay Davydenko. Nadal lost the first set 6-1, before retiring in the second with a knee injury. The following week, Nadal announced his withdrawal from the year-ending Tennis Masters Cup in Shanghai, citing tendinitis of the knee. On November 10, Nadal withdrew from Spain's Davis Cup final against Argentina, as his knee injury had not healed completely.
2009, first hard court slam.
Nadal's first official ATP Tour event for the year was the 250 Series Qatar Open in Doha. After his first-round match with Fabrice Santoro, Nadal was awarded the 2008 ATP World Tour Champion Trophy. Nadal eventually lost in the quarterfinals to Gael Monfils. Nadal also entered and won the tournament's doubles event with partner Marc Lopez, defeating the world #1 doubles team of Daniel Nestor and Nenad Zimonjic in the final. As noted by statistician Greg Sharko, this was the first time since 1990 the world #1 singles player had played the world #1 doubles player in a final. At the 2009 Australian Open, Nadal won his first 5 matches without dropping a set, before defeating compatriot Fernando Verdasco in the semifinals in the second longest match in Australian Open history at 5 hours and 14 minutes. This win set up a championship match with Roger Federer, their first meeting ever in a hardcourt Grand Slam tournament and their 19th meeting overall. Nadal defeated Federer in 5 sets to earn his first hardcourt Grand Slam singles title, making him the first Spaniard to win the Australian Open and the 4th male tennis player, after Jimmy Connors, Mats Wilander, and Andre Agassi, to win Grand Slam singles titles on 3 different surfaces. This win also made Nadal the first male tennis player to hold 3 Grand Slam singles titles on 3 different surfaces at the same time. At the ABN AMRO World Tennis Tournament in Rotterdam, Nadal lost in the final to second-seeded Andy Murray in 3 sets. During the final, Nadal called a trainer to attend to a tendon problem with his right knee, which notably affected his play in the final set. Although this knee problem was not associated with Nadal's right knee tendinitis, it was serious enough to cause him to withdraw from the Barclays Dubai Tennis Championships a week later. In March, Nadal helped Spain defeat Serbia in a Davis Cup World Group first-round tie on clay in Benidorm, Spain. Nadal defeated Janko Tipsarevic and Novak Djokovic. The win over world number 3 Djokovic was Nadal's 12th consecutive Davis Cup singles match win and boosted his career win-loss record against Djokovic to 11-4, including 6-0 on clay. At the 2009 Indian Wells Masters, Nadal won his 13th Masters 1000 Series tournament. In the fourth round, Nadal saved 5 match points, before defeating David Nalbandian for the first time. Nadal defeated Juan Martín del Potro in the quarterfinals and Andy Roddick in the semifinals, before defeating Murray in the final. The next ATP Tour event was the 2009 Miami Masters. Nadal advanced to the quarterfinals, where he again faced Argentinian Del Potro, this time losing the match. This was the first time Del Potro had defeated Nadal in 5 career matches. Nadal began his European clay court season at the 2009 Monte Carlo Masters, where he won a record 5th consecutive singles title there. He defeated Novak Djokovic in the final for his 5th consecutive win, a record in the Open era. Nadal is the first male player to win the same ATP Masters Series event for 5 consecutive years. Nadal then competed in the ATP 500 event in Barcelona. He advanced to his 5th consecutive Barcelona final, where he faced David Ferrer. Nadal went on to beat Ferrer to record 5 consecutive Barcelona victories. At the Rome Masters, Nadal reached the final, where he defeated Novak Djokovic to improve his overall record to 13-4 and clay record to 8-0 against the Serb. He became the first player to win 4 Rome titles. After winning 2 clay court Masters, he participated in the Madrid Open. He lost to Roger Federer in the final. This was the first time that Nadal had lost to Federer since the semifinals of the 2007 Tennis Masters Cup. On May 19, the ATP World Tour announced that Nadal was the first player out of 8 to qualify for the 2009 ATP World Tour Finals, to be played at the O2 Arena in London. By beating Leighton Hewitt in the third round of 2009 French Open, Nadal, 2005-09 French Open, set a record of 31 consecutive wins at Roland Garros, beating the previous record of 28 by Bjorn Borg, 1978-81 French Open. Nadal had won 32 consecutive sets at Roland Garros, since winning the last 2 sets at the 2007 French Open final against Federer, the second longest winning streak in the tournament's history behind Bjorn Borg's record of 41 consecutive sets. This run came to an end on May 31, 2009. When Nadal lost to eventual runner-up, Robin Soderling in the 4th round. This was Nadal's first and, thus far, only loss at the French Open. After his surprise defeat at Roland Garros, Nadal withdrew from the Aegon Championships. It was confirmed that Nadal was suffering from tendinitis in both of his knees. On June 19, Nadal withdrew from the 2009 Wimbledon Championship, citing his recurring knee injury. He was the first champion not to defend the title since Goran Ivanisevic in 2001. Roger Federer went on to win the title, and Nadal consequently dropped back to world number 2 on July 6, 2009. Nadal later announced his withdrawal from the Davis Cup. On August 4, Nadal's uncle, Tony Nadal, confirmed that Nadal would return to play at the Rogers Cup in Montreal. There, in his first tournament since Roland Garros, Nadal lost in the quarterfinals to Juan Martín del Potro. With this loss, he relinquished the number 2 spot to Andy Murray on August 17, 2009, ranking outside the top 2 for the first time since July 25, 2005. In the quarterfinals of the US Open, he defeated Fernando González in a rain-delayed encounter. However, like his previous US Open campaign, he fell in the semifinals, this time losing to eventual champion Juan Martín del Potro. Despite the loss, he regained the number 2 ranking after Andy Murray's early exit. At the World Tour Finals, Nadal lost all 3 of his matches against Robin Soderling, Nikolay Davydenko, and Novak Djokovic respectively without winning a set. In December, Nadal participated in the second Davis Cup final of his career. He defeated Tomas Berdych in his first singles rubber to give the Spanish Davis Cup team their first point in the tie. After the Spanish Davis Cup team had secured its 4th Davis Cup victory, Nadal defeated Jan Hayek in the first Davis Cup dead rubber of his career. The win gave Nadal his 14th consecutive singles victory at Davis Cup, his 13th on clay. Nadal finished the year as number 2 for the 4th time in 5 years. Nadal won the Golden Beagle Award for 2009, with 9 6-0 sets during the year. Nadal has won the award 3 times, a tour record.
2010, returned to number 1 in career Grand Slam.
Nadal began the year by participating in the Qatar World Tennis Championship in Abu Dhabi, United Arab Emirates. He defeated compatriot David Ferrer to reach his second final in the exhibition tournament. In the final, Nadal defeated Robin Soderling in straight sets. Nadal participated in an Australian Open warm-up tournament, the Qatar ExxonMobil Open ATP 250 event in Doha, where he lost in the finals to Nikolay Davydenko. In the Australian Open, Nadal defeated Peter Licak, Lukas Lacko, Filip Kohlschreiber, and Ivo Karlovic. In the quarterfinals, Nadal pulled out at 3-0 down in the third set against Andy Murray, having lost the first 2 sets. After examining Nadal's knees, doctors told him that he should take 2 weeks of rest, and then 2 weeks of rehabilitation. Nadal reached the semifinals in singles at the BNP Paribas Open in Indian Wells, where he was the defending champion. However, eventual champion Ivan Lukashevich defeated him in 3 sets. He and countryman Lopez won the doubles title, though, as wildcard entrants against number 1 seeds Daniel Nestor and Minad Zimajic. This boosted his doubles ranking 175 places to world number 66, whereas he was 241st before Indian Wells. After Indian Wells, Nadal reached the semifinals of the Sony Ericsson Open, where he lost to eventual champion Andy Roddick in 3 sets. Nadal reached the final of the Monte Carlo Rolex Masters in Monaco, after beating fellow Spaniard David Ferrer in the semifinals. This was Nadal's first tour final since Doha earlier in the year. He won the final in straight sets over his compatriot Fernando Verdasco. He lost 14 games throughout all 5 matches, the fewest he had ever lost en route to a championship, and the final was the shortest Masters 1000 final in terms of games. With this win, Nadal became the first player in the Open era to win a tournament title for 6 straight years. Unlike in previous years, Nadal next chose to skip the Barcelona tournament, despite being that event's 5-time defending champion, and his next tournament was the 2010 Internazionale BNL d'Italia. He defeated Filip Kohlschreiber, Victor Hanescu, and Stanislav Wawrinka, all in straight sets, to win his 57th straight match in April. In the semis, he faced a resilient Ernest Skolbis, who defeated Roger Federer earlier in the tournament and took Nadal to 3 sets for the first time this clay court season. Nadal eventually prevailed in 2 hours and 40 minutes. He then defeated compatriot David Ferrer in the final for his 5th title at Rome to equal Andre Agassi's record of winning 17 ATP Masters titles. Nadal then entered the 2010 Mutua Madrilena Madrid Open, where he had finished runner-up the previous year. Being one of the top 8 seeds, he received a bye in the first round. In the second round, he defeated qualifier Alexander Dolgopolov, Jr. in straight sets. He then played the 6'9" American John Isner. Nadal comfortably came through in straight sets. He defeated Gael Monfils in the quarterfinals and his countryman Nicolas Almagro in the next round, who was playing in his first Masters 1000 semifinal. The first set of his match against Almagro will be just the second set he lost on clay up to this point in 2010. Nadal then defeated longtime rival Roger Federer, avenging his 2009 finals loss to Federer. The win gave him his 18th Masters title, breaking the all-time record. He became the first player to win all 3 clay court Masters titles in a single year and the first player to win 3 consecutive Masters events. Nadal moved back to number 2 the following day. Entering the French Open, many were expecting another Nadal-Federer final. However, this became impossible when rival Robin Soderling defeated Federer in the quarterfinals. The failure of Federer to reach the semifinals allowed Nadal to regain the world number 1 ranking if he were to win the tournament. Nadal advanced to the final and defeated Soderling. The win gave Nadal his 7th Grand Slam tournament title, tying him with John McEnroe, John Newcombe, and Mats Wilander on the all-time list, and allowed Nadal to reclaim the position of world number 1, denying his biggest rival Roger Federer the all-time record 4 weeks at number 1. By this win, Nadal became the first man to win a 3 Masters series on clay in the French Open. The victory at Roland Garros marked the second time, 2008, that Nadal had won the French Open without dropping a single set, tying the record held by Bjorn Borg. With the win in Paris, he also booked his place at the World Tour Finals in London and became the first player to win 5 French Open titles in 6 years. In June, Nadal entered the Aegon Championships, which he had won in 2008, at the prestigious Queen's Club. He played singles and doubles at this grass court tournament as a warm-up for Wimbledon. Being one of the top 8 seeds, he received a bye in the first round. In the second round, where he played his first match on grass since winning Wimbledon 2008, he defeated Marcos Daniel. In the third round, he played Denis Istomin of Uzbekistan, whom he defeated to advance to the quarterfinals. However, he was defeated by compatriot Feliciano Lopez. At the Wimbledon Championships, Nadal beat Kei Nishikori and Robin Haase in the opening rounds. He defeated Philipp Hetzner in the third round, winning after 5 sets of play. During his match with Hetzner, Nadal was warned twice for allegedly receiving coaching from his coach and uncle, Tony Nadal, resulting in a $2,000 fine by Wimbledon officials. He defeated Paul-Henri Mathieu of France in the round of 16 and in the quarterfinals, he beat Robin Soderling of Sweden in 4 sets. He defeated Andy Murray in straight sets to reach his 4th Wimbledon final. Nadal won the 2010 Wimbledon men's title by defeating Tomas Berdych in straight sets. After the win, Nadal said that winning Wimbledon was more than a dream for him, and thanked the crowd for being both kind and supportive to him and his adversary during the match and in the semi-final against Andy Murray. The win gave him a 2nd Wimbledon title and an 8th career major title just past the age of 24. The win also gave Nadal his first Old World triple. The last person to achieve this was Bjorn Borg in 1978. Old World triple is a term given to winning the Italian Open, French Open, and Wimbledon in the same year. In his first hardcore tournament since Wimbledon, Nadal advanced to the semifinals of the Rogers Cup, along with number 2 Novak Djokovic, number 3 Roger Federer, and number 4 Andy Murray, after coming back from a 1-set deficit to defeat Philipp Kohlschreiber. In the semifinal, defending champion Murray defeated Nadal, becoming the only player to triumph over the Spaniard twice in 2010. Nadal also competed in the doubles with Djokovic in a one-time, high-profile partnership of the world number 1 and number 2, the first such team since the Jimmy Connors and Arthur Ashe team in 1976. However, Nadal and Djokovic lost in the first round to Canadians Milos Raonic and Vasek Pospisil. The next week, Nadal with the top seed at the Cincinnati Masters, losing in the quarterfinals to 2006 Australian Open finalist Marcos Baghdatis. At the 2010 US Open, Nadal with the top seed for the second time in 3 years. He defeated Timur Rozkabashvili, Denis Istomin, Gilles Simon, number 23 seed Feliciano Lopez, number 8 seed Fernando Verdasco, and number 12 seed Mikhail Yasny, all without dropping a set, to reach his first US Open final, becoming only the 8th man in the Open era to reach the final of all 4 majors, and at age 24 the second youngest ever to do so, behind only Jim Courier. In the final, he defeated Novak Djokovic, which completed the career Grand Slam for Nadal. He also became the second male after Andre Agassi to complete a career Golden Slam. Nadal's US Open victory meant that he also became the first man to win majors on clay, grass, and hardcourt in the same year, and the first to win the French Open, Wimbledon, and the US Open in the same year since Rod Laver in 1969. Nadal and Mats Wilander are the only male players to win at least 2 Grand Slams each on clay, grass, and hardcourts in their careers. Nadal also became the first left-handed man to win the US Open since John McEnroe in 1984. Nadal's victory also clinched the year-end number 1 ranking for 2010, making Nadal only the 3rd player, after Ivan Lendl in 1989 and Roger Federer in 2009, to regain the year-end number 1 ranking after having lost it. Nadal began his Asian tour at the 2010 PTT Thailand Open in Bangkok, where he reached the semifinals, losing to compatriot Guillermo Garcia Lopez. Nadal was able to regroup, and at the 2010 Rakuten Japan Open Tennis Championships in Tokyo debut, he defeated Santiago Giraldo, Milos Raonic, and Dmitry Tursunov. In the semifinals against Viktor Troicki, Nadal saved 2 match points in the deciding set tiebreaker to win it 9-7 in the end. In the final, Nadal comfortably defeated Gael Monfils for his 7th title of the season. Nadal next played in the 2010 Shanghai Rolex Masters in Shanghai, where he was the top seed, but lost to world number 12 Jürgen Melzer in the 3rd round, snapping his record streak of 21 consecutive Masters quarterfinals. On November 5, Nadal announced that he was pulling out of the Paris Masters due to tendinitis in his left shoulder. On November 21, 2010, in London, Nadal won the Stefan Edberg Sportsmanship Award for the first time. At the 2010 ATP World Tour Finals in London, Nadal defeated Roddick in the first match, Djokovic in the second match, and Berdych in the third match, to advance to the semifinals for the 3rd time in his career. This was the first time that Nadal achieved 3 wins in the round-robin stage. In the semifinal, he defeated Murray in a hard-fought match to reach his first final at the tournament. In only their second meeting of the year, Federer beat Nadal in the final. After the match, Nadal stated, "Roger is probably the more complete player of the world. I'm not going to say I lost that match because I was tired." This was a reference to his marathon victory over Murray on Saturday. "I tried my best this afternoon, but Roger was simply better than me." Nadal ended the 2010 season having won 3 Grand Slams and 3 Masters 1000 tournaments, and having regained the #1 ranking. Next up for Nadal was a 2-match exhibition against Federer for the Roger Federer Foundation. The first match took place in Zurich on December 21, 2010, and the second in Madrid the next day.
2011.
Nadal started 2011 by participating in the Mubadala World Tennis Championship in Abu Dhabi, United Arab Emirates. He defeated Tomas Berdych to reach his 3rd final in the exhibition tournament. In the final, he won over his main rival Roger Federer. At the Qatar ExxonMobil Open ATP 250 event in Doha, Qatar, Nadal barely struggled past his first 3 opponents, Karlbach, Lucas Lago, and Ernest Skolbis, citing fever as the primary reason for his poor performance. He fell in straight sets to a resurgent Nikolay Davydenko in the semifinals. He and countryman Lopez won the doubles title by defeating the Italian duo Daniele Bracciali and Andre Agassi. In the first round of the Australian Open, Nadal defeated Marcos Daniel. In the second round, he beat upcoming qualifier Ryan Sweeting. In the third round, he was tested by emerging player Bernard Tomic of Australia, but Nadal was victorious in straight sets. He went on to defeat Marin Cilic of Croatia in the 4th round. He suffered an apparent hamstring injury against fellow Spaniard David Ferrer early in the pair's quarter-final match and ultimately lost in straight sets, thus ending his effort to win 4 major tournaments in a row. On February 7, 2011, in Abu Dhabi, United Arab Emirates, Nadal won the Laureus World Sportsman of the Year for the first time, ahead of footballer Lionel Messi, Sebastian Vettel, Spain's Andres Iniesta, Lakers basketball player Kobe Bryant, and Filipino boxer Manny Pacquiao. In March, Nadal helped Spain defeat Belgium in a 2011 Davis Cup World Group first-round tie on hard indoor courts in the Sportdome in Charleroi, Belgium. Nadal defeated Ruben Bemelmans. After Spain's victory in 3 matches, Nadal won a second dead rubber against Olivier Rochus. At the 2011 BNP Paribas Open in Indian Wells, Nadal defeated upcoming qualifier Rick DeVost in his first match. In the third round, he beat qualifier Ryan Sweeting. He then defeated qualifier Somdev Devarman in the 4th round. In the quarterfinals, Nadal had a hard time against Croatian Ivo Karlovic, and in the semifinals he met Martin Del Potro. The last 3 confrontations between the players were in favor of Del Potro, but despite some difficulties, Nadal won in straight sets. He reached his 3rd final at Indian Wells, and lost against Novak Djokovic. The next day, Nadal and Djokovic played a friendly match in Bogotá, Colombia, which Nadal won. Nadal started the 2011 Sony Ericsson Open with a win over Kei Nishikori, then met his compatriot Feliciano Lopez in the third round, whom he defeated. In the fourth round, he defeated Alexander Dolgopolov. In the quarterfinals, Nadal had the first real test of the tournament when he met the world number 7 Tomas Berdych, who he defeated in 3 sets. In the semifinals, Nadal met his main rival Roger Federer, their first meeting in a semifinal since the 2007 Masters Cup. Nadal won in straight sets. For the second time in 2 weeks, Nadal faced Novak Djokovic in the final. As in the Indian Wells tournament, Nadal won the first set, and Djokovic the second. The third set ended in a tie-break, with Djokovic winning. This was the first time Nadal reached the finals of Indian Wells and Miami in the same year. Nadal began his clay court season by winning the 2011 Monte Carlo Rolex Masters with the loss of just 1 set. Nadal defeated Jarko Nieminen, Richard Gasquet, Ivan Ljubičić, and Andy Murray to reach his 7th consecutive final in Monte Carlo. In the final, Nadal avenged his defeat by David Ferrer in the quarterfinals of the 2011 Australian Open. He became the first man to win the same tournament 7 times in a row at the ATP level in the Open era. Nadal chalked up his 37th straight win at the clay court event, where he has not lost since the 2003 Monte Carlo Masters. It was his 44th career title and 19th at a Masters event. It was his first title since winning the Japan Open. Nadal shares third place with Bjorn Borg and Manuel Orenz in the list of players with the most titles on clay. Just a week later, Nadal won a 6th Barcelona Open crown, winning the 2011 Barcelona Open Banco Sabadell final against Ferrer in straight sets. In doing so, Nadal became the first man in the Open era to have won 2 tournaments at least 6 times each. Nadal was then the leader in terms of matches won in the year, with 29. He did not gain any points for this victory, however, as only 4 ATP 500 tournaments can be counted towards a player's ranking at one time, but they will go into effect August 8, 2011, when the result of the 2010 Legg Mason Tennis Classic expires. At the 2011 Mutua Madrid Open in May, he defeated Marcos Baghdatis, had a walkover against Juan Martín del Potro, and defeated Michael Ladra and Roger Federer, before losing the final to Novak Djokovic in 2 sets. Nadal again lost in straight sets to Novak Djokovic in the Rome Masters final. This marked the first time that Nadal has lost twice on clay to the same player in a single season. However, Nadal retained his number 1 ranking during the clay court season and won his 6th French Open title by defeating Roger Federer. During the first 3 rounds of Wimbledon, Nadal beat Michael Russell, Ryan Sweeting, and Gilles Muller. He then faced Juan Martín del Potro in the 4th round and Marty Fish in the quarterfinals, defeating both players in 4 sets. His semifinal opponent was world number 4 Andy Murray. Nadal lost the first set, then won the next 3. This set up a final against world number 2 Novak Djokovic, who had beaten Nadal in all 4 of their matches in 2011, all in Masters finals. After dropping the third set, Djokovic defeated Nadal in the 4th. This was the first Grand Slam tournament final that Nadal had lost to someone other than Roger Federer and his first loss at Wimbledon since his 5-set loss to Federer in the 2007 final. The loss ended Nadal's winning streak in Grand Slam finals at 7, preventing him from tying the Open-era record of 8 victories in a row set by Pete Sampras. Djokovic's success at the tournament also meant that the Serb ascended to world number 1 for the first time, breaking the dominance of Federer and Nadal on the position, which one of them had held for every week since February 2, 2004. Nadal fell to world number 2 in the rankings for the first time since June 2010. After resting for a month from a foot injury sustained during Wimbledon, he contested the 2011 Rogers Cup, where he was shocked by Croatian Ivan Dodig in a third-set tie-break. He next played in the 2011 Cincinnati Masters, where he lost to Marty Fish in the quarterfinals. At the 2011 U.S. Open, Nadal defeated Andrei Golubev in straight sets and advanced to the 3rd round after Frenchman Nicolas Mahut had retired. After defeating David Nalbandian on September 4, Nadal collapsed in his post-match press conference due to severe cramps. Nadal lost to Novak Djokovic in the final in 4 sets. After the U.S. Open, Nadal made the final of the Japan Open Tennis Championships. Nadal, who was the 2010 champion, was defeated by Andy Murray. At the Shanghai Masters, Nadal was top seed with the absence of Novak Djokovic, but was upset in the third round by number 23 ranked Florian Mayer in straight sets. At the 2011 ATP World Tour Finals, Nadal was defeated by Roger Federer in the round-robin stage, in one of the quickest matches between the two, lasting just 60 minutes. In the following match, Nadal was defeated by Jo-Wilfried Tsonga, and was eliminated from the tournament. In the Davis Cup final in December, Nadal had a quick straight set win over Juan Monaco in his first match. In his second match against Juan Martín del Potro, Nadal did not win a single service game in the first set but came back to win the match. Nadal ended his tennis season with the Mubadala World Tennis Championship, an exhibition tournament not affiliated with the ATP. The tournament, normally held in early January, was held from 29 to December 31, 2011. Nadal had a bye into the semifinals and played against David Ferrer, who defeated Jo-Wilfried Tsonga in the quarterfinals. Ferrer won the match in straight sets. Nadal was then relegated to the third-place match against Roger Federer. Nadal won in straight sets.
2012.
Nadal began his ATP World Tour season at the Qatar Open. He beat Philipp Kohlschreiber and qualifier Dennis Griemelmeyer in rounds 1 and 2 and then won against 7th-seeded Mikhail Yasny. In the semifinal he lost to Gael Monfils in 2 sets. In the Australian Open, Nadal began the tournament by breezing past qualifier Alex Kuznetsov of United States. The second round against Tommy Haas, who has never won a set against Rafael, was tighter, but Nadal again advanced in 3 straight sets. He defeated Feliciano Lopez in the 4th round, then won in his quarter-final and semi-final matches against Tomas Berdych and Roger Federer respectively. By doing so, he has reached the finals of all 4 majors consecutively. In the final, on January 29, he was beaten by Novak Djokovic in a 5-set match that lasted 5 hours and 53 minutes, the longest ever match for a Grand Slam title. The pair set a new world record, breaking the latest longest major singles final between Mats Wilander and Ivan Lendl, which lasted 4 hours and 54 minutes, at the US Open in 1988. Nadal made it to the semifinals in Indian Wells, where he was beaten in straight sets by eventual champion Roger Federer. He also made the semifinals in Miami, but withdrew because of knee problems. As the clay court season started, Nadal was seated second at the 2012 Monte Carlo Rolex Masters. He defeated Jarko Nieminen, Mikhail Kukushkin, Stanislas Wawrinka, and Gilles Simon before topping world number 1 Novak Djokovic to win his 8th consecutive Monte Carlo trophy. This ended a streak of 7 straight final losses to Djokovic, which began at the 2011 Indian Wells Masters final. A day after the Monte Carlo Masters final, Nadal traveled to Barcelona where he received a bye in the first round. His tremendous record on clay continued as he beat compatriot David Ferrer in a hard-fought final to clinch his 7th title in 8 years at the Barcelona Open. The Mutua Madrilena Madrid Open did not go very well for Nadal. He beat Nikolay Davydenko, one of the few players to hold a positive head-to-head record over Nadal, in straight sets. He then lost to Fernando Verdasco, who he held a 13-0 record against in the third round 7-5 in the third, after blowing a 4-0 final set lead. Nadal stated that he was very unhappy with the new blue-colored clay and threatened not to attend in the future if the surface was not changed back to red clay. Several other players, such as Novak Djokovic, voiced similar criticism. In the last tournament before the French Open, Nadal went to the Internazionale Biennale d'Italia in Rome. He advanced to his 7th final after defeating Florian Mayer, Marcel Granollers, Tomas Berdych, and David Ferrer all in straight sets, setting up another finals showdown with world number 1 Novak Djokovic. Nadal defeated Djokovic in a tight straight sets encounter. This was his 2nd victory over Novak Djokovic in 2012 and his 3rd title of the season, as well as his 6th Rome title overall. At the 2012 French Open, Nadal dropped only 30 games against his first 5 opponents, without losing a set. In the semifinal he faced a friend and compatriot in David Ferrer. Unlike their previous 2 encounters in Barcelona and Rome, Nadal showed almost no flaws, dismantling Federer to set up another championship title fight with world number 1 Novak Djokovic. This marked the first time where two opposing players faced each other in 4 consecutive Grand Slam tournament finals. They also became the only players to have faced the same opponent in the finals of all 4 majors. Nadal won the first 2 sets before Djokovic claimed the third. Play was suspended in the 4th set due to rain. When the match resumed the following day, Nadal won when Djokovic double faulted on match point, sealing a record 7th Roland Garros title for Nadal. Throughout the tournament, Nadal lost only 1 set, occurring in the final. By winning his 7th title at Roland Garros, Nadal surpassed Borg's overall titles record to become the most successful tennis player in French Open history. Nadal only lost a total of 3 sets in the 2012 clay court season. In his first grass court tournament of the season at Halle, Nadal advanced to quarter-finals, where he lost to Philipp Kohlschreiber. At Wimbledon, Nadal beat Thomas Bellucci in the first round. He then met Lucas Rosol in the second round, a player who was then ranked 100th in the world and had never advanced beyond the first qualifying round in his 5 previous Wimbledons. In one of the biggest upsets in Grand Slam history, Rosol defeated Nadal in 5 sets. This was the first time since the Wimbledon 2005 championships that Nadal had failed to progress past the second round of a Grand Slam tournament. In July 2012, Nadal withdrew from the 2012 Olympics due to tendinitis in his knee, which subsequently also led to him pulling out of both the Rogers Cup and Cincinnati Masters. On August 15, Nadal announced his withdrawal from the US Open in New York, as he felt he still wasn't healthy enough to compete. On September 11, 2012, Nadal fell to a world number 4 ranking, his lowest since 2010, as 2012 US Open winner Andy Murray climbed to number 3. Nadal ended 2012 ranked number 4 in the world, the first time in 8 years that he hasn't been ranked first or second at the end of the year.
2013, comeback and return to number 1.
2 weeks prior to the 2013 Australian Open, Nadal officially withdrew from the tournament citing a stomach virus. Nadal's withdrawal subsequently saw him drop out of the ATP's top 4 for the first time since 2005. Playing in his first tournament in South America since 2005, Nadal made his comeback at the Latin American Golden Swing, starting his 2013 season at the 2013 VTR Open in Chile, where he advanced to the final without dropping a set but was beaten by Argentine world number 73 journeyman Horacio Zeballos. He also lost in the doubles final, with Juan Monaco. At the 2013 Brazil Open, at Sao Paulo, Nadal struggled in the opening rounds, dropping sets to Berluc and qualifier Alland. Despite the poor clay surface, which was the subject of player complaints, he reached the final, where he defeated David Nalbandian. In the title match of the 2013 Abierto Mexicano Telcel in Acapulco, Nadal defeated world number 4 David Ferrer, losing just 2 games in the match. Nadal then returned to the American hard courts after a year, playing the Indian Wells Masters as a 5th seed. He lost only 1 set, and defeated world number 2 Roger Federer and world number 6 Tomas Berdych in the matches leading up to the final. Nadal recovered from being 1 set down in the final, to defeat Juan Martín del Potro. This was his 3rd Indian Wells Masters title and his first hardcourt title since October 2010, and made Nadal the player with the most Masters 1000s wins. After withdrawing from Miami, Nadal attempted to defend his title at the 2013 Monte Carlo Rolex Masters, but, despite reaching the final for the 9th consecutive year, he was beaten by Djokovic in straight sets. He then won at the 2013 Barcelona Open Banco Sabadell over Almagro, in straight sets. This was his 8th victory there, making him the first man to win 2 different tournaments 8 or more times each. It was also his 4th title of the season, and his 6th consecutive final. Nadal won his 23rd ATP Masters 1000 tournament at the 2013 Mutua Madrid Open, beating Wawrinka, despite previously having been 2 points from defeat in his quarter-final against David Ferrer. The blue clay that had troubled him the previous year there had been exchanged for the traditional red clay. In May, he won his record 24th Masters 1000 title, beating Roger Federer for his 7th championship at the 2013 Rome Masters. It was his 6th title of the season and his 8th consecutive final. These victories raised his ranking to world number 4. Nadal won the 2013 French Open after beating Djokovic in the semifinal and Federer in the final. His match with Djokovic was widely considered one of the greatest clay court matches ever played, as Nadal came back from down a break in the fifth set to take out a hard-fought 4-hour, 37-minute victory. However, because of the nuances of how rankings are calculated, including an improvement in performance by the then world number 5 David Ferrer at the French Open, Nadal's world ranking dropped from number 4 to number 5, with Ferrer replacing him at number 4. Nadal then lost his first-round match at the 2013 Wimbledon Championships in straight sets to unseeded Belgian Steve Darcis, ranked number 135, making it the second time in a row he failed to reach the third round at Wimbledon and the first ever time Nadal had lost in the first round of a Grand Slam. Darcis is the lowest-ranked player ever to beat Nadal in a Grand Slam tournament. In August 2013, Nadal won the semifinal match in Montreal, denying Djokovic his fourth Rogers Cup title. Nadal proceeded to win the title after beating Milos Raonic in the final in straight sets. This was Nadal's 25th Masters 1000 title and third title at the Canadian Open. He won his 26th ATP Masters 1000 in Cincinnati on Sunday 18 August after beating John Isner in the final. Nadal concluded a brilliant North American hardcourt season with his fourth hardcourt title of the year, defeating Djokovic at the 2013 US Open final in 4 sets, bringing his slam count to 13 and giving Nadal a male tennis record paycheck of $3.6 million. Later in September, Nadal helped Spain secure the Davis Cup World Group playoff spot for 2014, with a victory against Sergei Stakhovsky and a doubles win with Marc Lopez. In October 5, he reached the final of the China Open, guaranteeing he would become world number 1 for the third time after losing it in July 2011. In the final, he was beaten by Djokovic in straight sets. At the 2013 Shanghai Rolex Masters, Nadal reached semifinals but was defeated by Del Potro. In November 2013, Nadal played his final event of the season in London at the 2013 ATP World Tour Finals where he secured the year-end world number 1 spot. Nadal beat David Ferrer, Stanislas Wawrinka and Tomas Berdych in the round-robin stage to set up a semi-final and victory over Roger Federer. Nadal met Djokovic in the final, losing in straight sets.
2014.
Rafael Nadal began his 2014 season at the 2014 Qatar ExxonMobil Open in Doha, defeating Lucas Rosol in the first round, and he won the title after defeating Gael Monfils in the final. It was announced in February 2014 that after compiling one of the greatest comeback seasons on the ATP World Tour in 2013, world number 1 Rafael Nadal is a contender to be nominated for the Laureus World Comeback of the Year award. In the Australian Open, he defeated Federer to reach his third Australian Open final, improving his career record against Federer to 23-10. This marked Nadal's 11th consecutive victory in a major semifinal, second only to Borg's all-time record of 14, and advanced him to his 19th major final, tying him with Lendl for second all-time behind Federer's 24. It also marked Nadal's 6th consecutive victory over Federer in a major. In the final, he faced Stanislas Wawrinka, against whom he entered the match with a 12-0 record, having won all of their previous 26 sets. After losing the first set, Nadal suffered a back injury down 2-0 in the second set, and although he won a set, he lost the match in 4 sets, dropping his career record in Grand Slam finals to 13-6. The first tournament he played after that was the inaugural Rio Open, which he won after defeating Alexander Dolgopolov in the final, extending his record of ATP 500 titles to 15.
Rivalries. Nadal vs. Federer.
Federer and Nadal have been playing each other since 2004, and their rivalry is a significant part of both men's careers. They held the top 2 rankings on the ATP Tour from July 2005 until August 14, 2009, when Nadal fell to world number 3, Andy Murray became the new number 2. They are the only pair of men to have ever finished 4 consecutive calendar years at the top. Nadal ascended to number 2 in July 2005 and held this spot for a record 160 consecutive weeks before surpassing Federer in August 2008. They have played 33 times, and Nadal leads their head-to-head series 23-10 overall and 9-2 in Grand Slam tournaments. 15 of their matches have been on clay, which is statistically Nadal's best surface and statistically Federer's worst surface. And yet, Nadal has a 9-6 head-to-head advantage over Federer in hard courts, which is statistically Nadal's worst surface. Federer has a winning record on grass, 2-1, and indoor hard courts, 4-1, while Nadal leads the outdoor hard courts by 8-2 and clay by 13-2. Because tournament seedings are based on rankings, 20 of their matches have been in tournament finals, including an all-time record 8 Grand Slam tournament finals. From 2006 to 2008, they played in every French Open and Wimbledon final, and also met in the title match of the 2009 Australian Open and the 2011 French Open. Nadal won 6 of the 8, losing the first 2 Wimbledon finals. 3 of these matches were 5-set matches, 2007 and 2008 Wimbledon, 2009 Australian Open, and the 2008 Wimbledon final has been lauded as the greatest match ever by many longtime tennis analysts. They have also played in a record 10 Masters Series finals.
Nadal vs Djokovic.
Novak Djokovic and Nadal have met 39 times, more than any other players in the Open era, with Nadal having a 22-17 advantage. Nadal leads on grass 2-1 and clay 13-3, but Djokovic leads on hard courts 13-7. In 2009, this rivalry was listed as the third greatest of the previous 10 years by ATP.com. Djokovic is one of only 2 players to have at least 10 match wins against Nadal, the other being Federer, and the only person to defeat Nadal 7 consecutive times and 2 times consecutively on clay. The 2 earlier shared the record for the longest match played in a best-of-3 sets, 4 hours and 3 minutes, at the 2009 Mutua Madrid Open semifinals until the match between Roger Federer and Juan Martín del Potro in the London 2012 Olympics semifinal, which is the longest best-of-3 set match by time, at 4 hours and 26 minutes. In the 2011 Wimbledon final, Djokovic won in 4 sets for his first Slam final over Nadal. Djokovic also defeated Nadal in the 2011 US Open final. In 2012, Djokovic defeated Nadal in the Australian Open final for a 3rd consecutive Slam final win over Nadal. This was the longest Grand Slam tournament final in Open-era history at 5 hours, 53 minutes. Nadal won their last 3 2012 meetings in the final of Monte Carlo Masters, Rome Masters and French Open in April, in May and in June 2012, respectively. In 2013, Djokovic defeated Nadal in straight sets in the final at Monte Carlo, ending Nadal's record 8 consecutive titles there, but Nadal got revenge at the French Open in an epic 5-setter 9-7 in the 5th. In August 2013 Nadal won in Montreal, denying Djokovic his 4th Rogers Cup title. Nadal also defeated Djokovic in the 2013 US Open final.
Nadal vs Murray.
Nadal and Andy Murray have met on 18 occasions since 2007, with Nadal leading 13-5. Nadal leads 4-0 on clay, 3-0 on grass and 6-5 on hard courts, including 5-3 in outdoor courts, but Murray leads 2-1 on indoor hard courts. The pair regularly meet at Grand Slam level, with 8 out of their 18 meetings coming in slams, with Nadal leading 6-2, 3-0 at Wimbledon, 1-0 at the French Open, 1-1 at the Australian Open and 1-1 at the US Open. 7 of these 8 appearances have been at quarter-final and semi-final level, making the rivalry an important part of both men's careers. They have never met in a Slam final, however. Murray leads 2-1 in ATP finals, with Nadal winning at Indian Wells in 2009 and Murray winning in Rotterdam the same year in Tokyo in 2011. Murray lost 3 consecutive Grand Slam semifinals to Nadal in 2011 from the French Open to the US Open. Remarkably, of the past 19 Grand Slam draw sheets, they have been drawn in the same half 16 times. The pair did not meet in 2012. Having been scheduled to meet in the semifinal of the Miami Masters before Nadal withdrew with injury.
Playing style.
Nadal generally plays an aggressive, behind-the-baseline game founded on heavy topspin ground strokes, consistency, speedy footwork and tenacious court coverage, thus making him an aggressive counterpuncher. Known for his athleticism and speed around the court, Nadal is an excellent defender who hits well on the run, constructing winning plays from seemingly defensive positions. He also plays very fine drop shots, which work especially well because his heavy topspin often forces opponents to the back of the court. Nadal employs a full Western grip forehand, often with a lasso whip follow-through, where his left arm hits through the ball and finishes above his left shoulder, as opposed to a more traditional finish across the body or around his opposite shoulder. Nadal's forehand ground stroke form allows him to hit shots with heavy topspin, more so than many of his contemporaries. San Francisco tennis researcher John Yandel used a high-speed video camera and special software to count the average number of revolutions of a tennis ball hit full force by Nadal. While Nadal's shots tend to land short of the baseline, the characteristically high bounces his forehands achieve tend to mitigate the advantage an opponent would normally gain from capitalizing on a short ball. Although his forehand is based on heavy topspin, he can hit the ball deep and flat with a more orthodox follow-through for clean winners. Nadal's serve was initially considered a weak point in his game, although his improvements in both first serve points won and break points saved since 2005 have allowed him to consistently compete for and win major titles on faster surfaces. Nadal relies on the consistency of his serve to gain a strategic advantage in points, rather than going for service winners. However, before the 2010 US Open, he altered his service motion, arriving in the trophy pose earlier and pulling the racket lower during the trophy pose. Before the 2010 US Open, Nadal modified his service grip to a more continental one. These two changes in his serve increased his average speed by around 10 mph during the 2010 US Open, maxing out at 135 mph, 217 kilometers, allowing him to win more free points on his serve. However, since the 2010 US Open, Nadal's serve speed has dropped back down to previous levels and has again been cited as a need for improvement. Nadal is a clay court specialist in the sense that he has been extremely successful on that surface. Since 2005, he won 8 times at Roland Garros, 8 times at Monte Carlo and 6 at Rome. However, Nadal has shed that label due to his success on other surfaces, including holding simultaneous Grand Slam tournament titles on grass, hard courts, and clay on 2 separate occasions, winning 8 Masters Series titles on hardcourt, and winning the Olympic gold medal on hardcourt. Despite praise for Nadal's talent and skill, some have questioned his longevity in the sport, citing his build and playing style as conducive to injury. Nadal himself has admitted to the physical toll hardcourts place on ATP Tour players, calling for a re-evaluated tour schedule featuring fewer hardcourt tournaments.
Public image. Equipment and endorsements.
Nadal has appeared in advertising campaigns for Kia Motors as a global ambassador for the company. In May 2008, Kia released a claymation viral ad featuring Nadal in a tennis match with an alien. Nadal also has an endorsement agreement with Universal DVDs. Nike serves as Nadal's clothing and shoe sponsor. Nadal's signature on-court attire entailed a variety of sleeveless shirts paired with 3/4-length capri pants. For the 2009 season, Nadal adopted more traditional on-court apparel. Nike encouraged Nadal to update his look in order to reflect his new status as the sport's top player at that time and associate Nadal with a style that, while less distinctive than his pirate look, would be more widely emulated by consumers. At warm-up tournaments in Abu Dhabi and Doha, Nadal played matches in a polo shirt specifically designed for him by Nike, paired with shorts cut above the knee. Nadal's new, more conventional style carried over to the 2009 Australian Open, where he was outfitted with Nike's bold crew men's tee and Nadal long check shorts. Nadal wears Nike's Air Court Ballistic 2.3 tennis shoes, bearing various customizations throughout the season, including his nickname Rafa on the right shoe and a stylized bull logo on the left. He became the face of Lanvin's Lawn Sport cologne in April 2009. Nadal uses an AeroPro drive racket with a 41/4-inch L2 grip. As of the 2010 season, Nadal's rackets are painted to resemble the new Babolat AeroPro drive with Cortex GT racket in order to market a current model which Babolat sells. Nadal uses no replacement grip, and instead wraps 2 over grips around the handle. He used Duralist 15L strings until the 2010 season, when he switched to Babolat's new, black-colored, RPM Blast string. Nadal's rackets are always strung at 55 pounds, 25 kilograms, regardless of which surface or conditions he is playing on. As of January 2010, Nadal is the international ambassador for Kili, a company from his native Mallorca that manufactures biscuits, bakery and chocolate-coated products. He has consumed their products ever since he was a young child. In 2010, luxury watchmaker Richard Mille announced that he had developed an ultralight wristwatch in collaboration with Nadal called the Richard Mille Rumo 27 Tourbillon watch. The watch is made of titanium and lithium and is valued at $525,000. Nadal was involved in the design and testing of the watch on the tennis court. During the 2010 French Open, Men's Fitness reported that Nadal wore the Richard Mille watch on the court as part of a sponsorship deal with the Swiss watchmaker. Nadal replaced Cristiano Ronaldo as the new face of Emporio Armani underwear and Armani jeans for the Spring-Summer 2011 collection. This was the first time that the label has chosen a tennis player for the job. Association football has ruled lately. Prior to Ronaldo, David Beckham graced the ads since 2008. Armani said that he selected Nadal as his latest male underwear model because he is ideal as he represents a healthy and positive model for youngsters.
Poker.
In June 2012, Nadal joined the group of sports endorsers of the Poker Stars online poker card room.
In popular culture.
In February 2010, Rafael Nadal was featured in the music video of Shakira's Gypsy and part of her album release She Wolf. In explaining why she chose Nadal for the video, Shakira was quoted as saying in an interview with the Latin American Herald Tribune, "I thought that maybe I needed someone I could in some way identify with." And Rafael Nadal is a person who has been totally committed to his career since he was very young. Since he was 17, I believe. She added about Gypsy, "I've been on the road since I was very, very young, so that's where the gypsy metaphor comes from." In December 2012, the CBS hit reality TV show The Amazing Race did a roadblock that paid homage to Nadal, where teams had to return 20 tennis balls inbounds on a clay court while teams were racing in his native town of Mallorca during season 21.
Asteroid.
128,036 Rafael Nadal is a main belt asteroid discovered in 2003 at the Observatorio Astronómico de Mallorca and named after Nadal.
Off the court. Involvement in football.
Nadal is an avid fan of Association Football Club Real Madrid. On July 8, 2010, it was reported that he had become a shareholder of RCD Mallorca, his local club by birth, in an attempt to assist the club from debt. Nadal reportedly owns 10% and was offered the role of vice president, but he rejected that offer. His uncle Miguel Angel Nadal became assistant coach under Michael Laudrup. Nadal remains a passionate Real Madrid supporter. ESPN.com writer Graham Hunter wrote, "He's as merengue as Raul, Iker Casillas and Alfredo Di Stefano." Shortly after acquiring his interest in Mallorca, Nadal called out UEFA for apparent hypocrisy in ejecting the club from the 2010-11 UEFA Europa League for excessive debts, saying through a club spokesperson, "Well, if those are the criteria upon which UEFA is operating, then European competition will only comprise 2 or 3 clubs because all the rest are in debt too." He is a fervent supporter of the Spanish national team, one of only 6 people not affiliated with the team or the national federation allowed into the team's locker room immediately following Spain's victory in the 2010 FIFA World Cup final.
Philanthropy.
Nadal took part in Thailand's A Million Trees for the King project, planting a tree in honor of King Bhumibol Adulyadej on a visit to Hua Hin during his Thailand Open 2010. "For me it's an honor to be part of this project," said Nadal. "It's a very good project. I want to congratulate the Thai people and congratulate the King for this unbelievable day. I wish all the best for this idea. It's very, very nice."
Fundación Rafa Nadal.
The creation of the Fundación Rafa Nadal took place in November 2007, and its official presentation was in February 2008, at the Manicourt Tennis Club in Mallorca, Spain. The foundation will focus on social work and development aid, particularly on childhood and youth. On deciding why to start a foundation, Nadal said, "This can be the beginning of my future. When I retire and have more time, I am doing very well in IO society. A month and a half ago I was in Chennai, in India. The truth is we live great here. I can contribute something with my image." Nadal was inspired by the Red Cross benefit match against malaria with Real Madrid goalkeeper Iker Casillas, recalling, "We raised an amount of money that we would never have imagined. I have to thank Iker, my project partner, who went all out for it. That is why the time has come to set up my own foundation and determine the destination of the money." Nadal's mother, Ana Maria Parera, chairs the charitable organization, and father Sebastian is vice chairman. Coach and uncle Tony Nadal and his agent, former tennis player Carlos Costa, are also involved. Roger Federer has given Nadal advice on getting involved in philanthropy. Despite the fact that poverty in India struck him particularly hard, Nadal wants to start by helping people close by, in the Balearic Islands, in Spain, and then, if possible, abroad. On October 16, 2010, Nadal traveled to India for the first time to assist in the transformation of one of the poorest and most needy areas of India, Andhra Pradesh. He has an academy at Anantapur Sports Village, in the Anantapur city, Andhra Pradesh. His foundation has also worked in the Anantapur Educational Center project, in collaboration with the Vicente Ferrer Foundation.
Personal life.
Nadal lived with his parents and younger sister Maria Isabel in a 5-story apartment building in their hometown of Manicourt, Mallorca. In June 2009, Spanish newspaper La Vanguardia, and then the New York Times, reported that his parents, Ana Maria and Sebastian, had separated. This news came after weeks of speculation in internet posts and message boards over Nadal's personal issues as a cause of his setback. Nadal has revealed himself to be agnostic. As a young boy, he would run home from school to watch Goku in his favorite Japanese anime, Dragon Ball. CNN released an article about Nadal's childhood inspiration, and called him the Dragon Ball of tennis due to his unorthodox style from another planet. In addition to tennis and football, Nadal enjoys playing golf. Nadal's autobiography, Rafa, Hyperion, 2012, ISBN 14001310923, written with assistance from Jean Carlin, was published in August 2011.
Career statistics. Grand Slam tournament performance timeline.
To prevent confusion and double counting, information in this table is updated only once a tournament or the player's participation in the tournament has concluded. This table is current through the 2014 Australian Open.
Records. Open era records.
These records were attained in the Open era of tennis. Records in bold indicate peerless achievements. Records in italics are currently active streaks. Denotes consecutive streak.